Hey there, welcome back to Tennille Talks. Y'all, so I am recording this during the window of time when we have a new moon in Virgo, but this new moon in Virgo is called a black or a dark moon. I did a little bit of research. This moon, because I never heard about this before, okay? Or I never heard like that title. So a black or a dark moon occurs every 29 to 33 months. It can be the second new moon in a calendar month, or it is the third new moon in a season of 4 new moons. So like typically in one season, we have 3 new moons. Well, whenever you have a black or a dark moon, that indicates that in one season, we now have 4 new moons. Okay. So second new moon in a calendar month, it is in a season where we have 4 new moons instead of 3 new moons, and it occurs every 29 to 33 months. So life is cyclical, not linear. The space that we are standing in during this portal of time, we have been here over 2 years ago. The reading that I'm going to give you, this is a reading about emotions. It is about water. So I want you to think about your emotional state 2 years ago. From this time in your life, just go back 2 years. Now, new moon in Virgo, this is self-improvement. This is I'm going to fix my schedule. I'm only going to worry, or I'm only going to tend to the garden that I can reach. My time, my schedule, my goals, my performance. Like I'm going to have a routine about how I show up during my 24 hours. Okay. This is what Virgo is about. Now, when I'm watching the videos, new moons means it's time to manifest. It's time to set an intention. It's time to set a goal. But like the black moon and the dark moon, some of the information I was reading, it was literally split down the middle. Some people were saying, manifest. This is an incredible time. Others were saying the worst thing you could do is to get out there and manifest. And so, first of all, let's imagine we haven't been here for 2 years and we're here again. So the way I understood this moon is whenever we manifest, we set an intention, we set a goal, it's literally like writing down a recipe for a meal that we are going to cook, or it's writing the shopping list for the meal that we plan to cook. Because this is not a typical new moon where you write the recipe, shop for the ingredients, cook the meal, and then celebrate the masterpiece. If we're not supposed to do this during this specific black moon, what I understand is, yes, it is a new moon, so you should be thinking about the recipe. You should be thinking about your shopping list and all of the ingredients. But because this is a black dark moon, before you go to the store to buy whatever you need, in order to manifest and create this one meal, first, you need to go to your pantry. You need to go to your cupboards. You need to go to your cabinet, your freezer, your refrigerator. You should not have any old ingredients. There should be no old, expired, or stale food in any part of your kitchen if you're about to try to make a new meal, because you'll never be able to use those ingredients again. So why do you have them? Right. And so this is saying, let's go back 2 years. We want to make a meal. Maybe it's the same meal we wanted to cook. Maybe it's a totally different meal. But is there anything inside of your cabinet, anything inside of your kitchen that you don't want to eat again? You don't want to cook with that shit again. Like, what do you need to get rid of? Right? Yes, you can make one single meal, but you're going to be cooking again and again and again. So get rid of space. Get rid of the unused or the stuff that's been used, but you'll never use again. Right? So it's a period of manifestation, but we're manifesting backwards. We're purging first. This is like partial full moon, partial new moon type energy. Okay. That's how I understood it. Not saying it has to be Bible, but that's just how I understood it. So this reading is about emotion, right? So we're going to go back 2 years. And when we open our cabinets, we are looking for all of the old emotions that we had or have in us that really are not a reflection of what it is we're about to make. And remember, the thing that we're making is going to improve us because we're in the season of Virgo, right? We're trying to make use of our time, our work habits, and our routines. Is there anything emotional inside of of us that is going to hinder the process of us making an emotional meal that is really conducive to our self-improvement. Let me tell you a story. So this reading made me think, because I learned about something. Okay, this reading made me think about something. One of the grossest things that I can remember about kindergarten, specifically teaching kindergarten, it was lunchtime. And it was gross. I want you to imagine that there is a 16, I don't know how many fluid ounces, but y'all know, just a normal plastic bottle of water, okay? Children would have their normal plastic bottle of water during lunchtime in kindergarten. And whatever they packed in their lunch that day, it was fair game to be dropped in their water. So maybe it was a goldfish, maybe it was a pretzel stick or a gummy or a piece of a sandwich or a celery stick. Kids would drop random shit from their lunchbox in their water bottle, shake it up, take the cap off and take sips, and the lunch table would go wild. And you're like, yeah, really? You let them do that? I mean, they were having fun. Like, this is entertainment at 5, but it's pure entertainment. It wouldn't be chaotic, but it was gross as hell. And so this is a reading about emotion, but it's really recognizing that, like, the clarity of your emotion is going to give you the greatest meal that you will ever make. Like, nobody wants to cook with dirty water. Okay. And so watching little kids drink dirty water or nasty water is what this reading is talking about. It's talking about impurities in your emotional body that are fucking up the meals that you're trying to cook, fucking up the meals you're trying to make. And so maybe you're about to go back 2 years in time in order to clean out some emotional stuff that you really don't need anymore because you can't do nothing with it. Like, it served its purpose, but it has no place in whatever it is you're making next. Hence why we needed this time period. And remember, all of this is in the spirit of Virgo, self-improvement. So, okay, let me tell you something else. Well, now, y'all, there was a lot of information, so rock with me. Thank you, okay? The first thing I recognize in this reading is that we are being reminded that our emotions can absolutely be considered our first language. Why is that? Well, they are a fundamental, innate form of communication. We speak through our emotion before we establish verbal language. So our emotions are the basis for understanding the world. Wherever you go on this earth, happiness, sadness, fear, and anger are a universal way to experience and signal our internal states and our reactions to the world. I don't have to know your language, but I bet you I'll know if you're sad. I don't have to understand your culture, but I can read how happiness is demonstrated or displayed in your culture. I know that's anger and I know that's fear, right? Our first language is emotion. Now I want you to think about the fact that when we pass, when we die, right, based on Egyptian mythology, our heart is going to be weighed, right? So you got this scale, you've got a balance. On one side's your heart, on the other side is a feather. In order to make your way through, you got to get out of this thing. You got to get out of this life without a heavy heart. So the way you carry your emotions matter. The way your emotions have settled into your heart. If there's a lot of impurities, if it's really heavy, well, then there's no way we will be as light as a feather. Right? And so your first language into this world is also the final language that you will be measured with or up against. It's your you can know what you want to know. You can say whatever you can know however many languages you want to speak them all. Right? But at the end of the day, the first language and the last language that communicates something about you, it is your emotions. So we're going back 2 years to something emotional because we're thinking about improving ourselves. That is what this window of time is. So when I did this reading, I didn't specifically ask for a spread or like whatever, but I used my Moonology cards and I just set the intention that, like, can this please be relevant to the dark moon or the black moon, or just whenever you hear it, it's going to be relevant, right? But like, I only pull out my moonology cards when I'm doing something for specifically a moon type of question. So I have my moonology cards. When I use that deck, every card is going to give you a specific moon phase. So I wanted to know, when did we experience this moon phase in 2025? Like, did we already experience this? So for some of the cards, for some of the energies, I actually have 3 specific dates about 3 moon phases. They may mean something to you, or they may mean nothing at all, but just consider them. Consider where you were either this year when that month and that day came, or take yourself back 2 years ago. Okay? Now, let's jump into the reading. I talked about emotions being our first language. I talked about the nasty water bottle. So inside of you is a water bottle. You get it when you're born. When you die, let's imagine that the clarity and the purity of your water is what the universe is looking for. The more clear or the more pure your water is, that is an indication that this life, the heaviness of this life, the heaviness of those experiences, they did not weigh you down to the point that you will not be allowed to be passed through the final moment of judgment. Right? Like, you're in this world, but like it didn't get in you so much so that it burdened your heart. It corrupted your emotional body. Now, everything I just said to you started to make me think about cocktails, specifically clarified cocktails. Now, I've never used that word. I don't even know if I've had one. Like, I don't know. So this is not anything that I'm talking, So what I've learned is that there are specific cocktails called clarified cocktails, but they don't start that way. Okay, so there is an entire filtration process that you put a cocktail through in order to essentially make it clear. To be like, meaning if I were to give you my driver's license and you have a clarified cocktail in front of you, you would be able to put my license behind your cocktail glass and read it. That's how clear it is, okay? Clarified cocktail. That means the impurities have been removed. Anything that's floating around there. So I want you to think about that water bottle that those kindergartners were making at lunch. Sometimes in our life, because of what we've endured emotionally, the same shit that they were putting in that water bottle at that lunch table is exactly what it looks like inside of our emotional body. We got a lot of shit floating around in there. Now, there is a process. There is a whole filtration thing that happens when you are trying to clarify a cocktail. All right, y'all. So here it is. One of the techniques, and y'all, this is not news. This is news to me because I just learned this, but to some of y'all, it's not news. Like, y'all are going to be talking about, yeah, I did, So one of the ways that you clarify a cocktail is called milk washing. Okay. Remember, we're trying to remove impurities. We're trying to take out all the suspended particles. And there's a reason why clarified cocktails are like a thing. One of the things is, yes, it is visually appealing because it is so clear. But when you put a cocktail through the process of clarification, it enhances the drink's appearance, but it also can improve the texture and the flavor stability. When you clean out your emotional body, it improves your appearance. It enhances your texture. And I don't mean like if I go and rub your arm, you just feel better than you did when you were angry. No, I'm saying that when I rub energies with you, what you feel like against my energy, right? We can all read each other. Your texture, the way you feel, the way you resonate on the body of another, it just feels, Betty, when your emotions have been clarified. Not only that, stabilizes flavor. Sometimes we go through shit and we have residue on us. Like, you can break up, but it may take you about 2 years to get rid of energy. So I want us to think about residue. The more clear you are in your emotional body, you have the ability to stabilize your own flavor, which means you can prevent off flavors. You're going to taste like yourself. Even over long periods of time, you're going to show up consistently because you're emotional, like you maintain your flavor profile. because of how clear you are. But remember, nobody gets clarified without first going through a process. Lastly, clarified cocktails have an extended shelf life. You're going to look and feel like you are built different. You are built to last. You last longer because you're carrying around a level of purity that most don't. But again, you would have to put yourself through the process. So it refines your appearance. It changes or enhances your texture, but also you taste better. Right? When we're talking about residue, like you don't linger in the hearts, minds, or body. Like you don't linger in like people can taste you for a long time, but you like low key taste good. Like you understand, like emotionally, you're not out here souring people's hearts. The more pure you are, the more pure you show up in the emotional body of another. So these are all wins. Now, the reason why we got to go back 2 years is because maybe certain things had been dropped in our drinks. For some of y'all, that's literally. Certain things were dropped inside of our water bottles that really fucked up its level of purity, meaning it wasn't clear. And so now here we are trying to manifest. Here we are ready to have a new moon. We're ready to self-improve, but this is a black moon or a dark moon. None of this shit is coincidence, okay? This is all for a reason. This reading is saying, listen, we need you to clarify your drink. We need you to throw away anything that you'll never be able to drink or eat, or, I used the whole cooking thing in the beginning. Now, let me break this part down to you. One of the ways, or the most prominent way that is also ancient in order to clarify a cocktail, is by using milk. That is a method, okay? It is called milkwashing or agar clarification. Okay, let me tell you the spiritual. You know what? I watched a video. I told you this reading, it had my mind everywhere, and I just got to get it out with you. Okay. There must have been a show about like really backwoodsy type, homegrown type of people. There's a guy that I'm watching, and I can't remember the name of the show that he was on. I didn't watch him, but I'm subscribed. Imagine a country guy in overalls. I'm thinking of something I watched a couple weeks ago. Country guy in overalls, they're camo overalls. He's a sweet teddy bear, a beautiful, like just demeanor and sense of self, like beautiful spirit. So in the video I'm watching, I'll attach the short just for shits and giggles. He's teaching how to clean his grease. So the grease you fry fish and chicken and whatever the hell you fry, like he's teaching how to clean the grease in order to use it again and again. And so I believe he pours cornstarch in, and like he lets the cornstarch fry, but then like he flips it. And the idea is like it's pouring out all of the impurities. And so the same way that you can clean grease is the same way that you can clean a cocktail. And so instead of using cornstarch like you would clean the grease, you would use milk in order to pull things out of cocktails so that they are clear and clarified and transparent. Spiritually speaking, milk washing. Imagine that in order to clean our emotional body, we would have to go through a process similar to milk washing, meaning you got to pour cornstarch in us in order to get all those burnt pieces out from all the meals we done been a part of, all the things we ate, all the things we experienced. Like there's just there's residue that you got to get out, because when it's time to manifest, the universe is not going to tolerate murky waters. The same way I felt about the kindergartners with the dirty water bottles where they put a whole bunch of shit in it, the same way that made me feel. Imagine me trying to give that, or imagine them bringing that to me to drink and wanting me to do something with it. When we show up to the universe and we want to create and we manifest, the first language, the first part of our body that is assessed is our emotions. That's the first language you got when you got here, and that's the last language that you will be assessed on when you leave. The system never changes. Okay? And so in order to be here on this earth, you are already a creator, a co-creator. You're a magician. Everybody gets 4 elements. But the first element you got and the last element that you got is your water. It is your emotional body. And that is the jump off for all things. Milkwashing. I wanted to know, okay, so if the only way to kind of clear or clarify a drink is by using milk, well, spiritually, what does milk mean? What does milk symbolize? So it's gross as hell to kind of, imagine dumping, okay, whatever. But milk symbolizes nourishment, abundance, purity, and growth. Milk represents an essential life-giving force. It is spiritual sustenance. Think about in the Old Testament, the phrase land flowing with milk and honey, right? We're talking about a land of fertility, abundance, divine favor, where God's people will abundantly be provided for forever. And so milk has a way of returning something to its state of purity. Milk itself talks about unadulterated truth and righteousness. Milk is necessary when you are taking a spiritual journey towards the Most High, towards God. And so in the same way you clean a cocktail, that's also how you clean out yourself. The dirty water bottle that is in us, not because we are dirty, but because impurities have been dropped in our water because of experiences. And so something may be specific about this time period, but 2 years back. So I want you to imagine that right now, it's not about getting a new water bottle. It's about cleaning out the one we have. But we're kind of doing it during a new moon. Right? But we can't drink it. We can't use it. It is a language that we will be judged. We will be assessed upon the clarity and the purity of our waters. The only way to milk wash our human vessel is to use the unadulterated truth and the righteousness. You gotta use the Most High. Okay? There are only certain things. We're talking about the fundamental principles of God's word. That is all that will ever milk wash or clarify your emotional body, your vessel. Now I'm really going to read these damn cards. So the way I understood this reading is like, let's say at this point in your journey, you understand that the universe, right? The universe is going to be the best, I don't want to say co-pilot, but when I started the reading, I talked about cleaning out your cabinets. So what do you call it? A sous chef? I don't know. But like when you're in the kitchen cooking, you don't want nobody else in that kitchen with you except the universe. Why? Because whatever you're establishing, whatever you're building, you need it to be sturdy. What is more sturdiest? What is more sturdy than the creation of the Most High? This is why we are living in a calculation, and all we got to do is find the pattern. Once we find the pattern, we just got to apply it and then watch the magic unfold. And so at some point you're like, you know what? I really want to live a life that is sturdy. And this literally could be emotional. Maybe you recognize your emotions were all over, they were volatile, whatever. This is like, I really want to live a life that is sturdy. I want my foundation to be strong, because I can't build nothing that lasts on something that's weak. And if my emotional body cannot stand the test of time, well, then I'm not as sturdy as I need to be. I'm always feeling uncertain. Nobody wants to have uncertain feelings when you're in the process of building something long term. You want to be sure about that shit. So at some point you're like, the only thing that I can create with is really the universe. Okay. Now the universe speaks in languages. The languages that the universe understands are all of the elements that we carry. We carry water, air, spirit, ether, and earth. We're on earth, right? So we got to manipulate that energy too. But remember, the primary language that the universe is really needing is your emotional body. I've mentioned this before. I learned it to be spoken this way when I watched Nero's channel. Nero says that when you're manifesting, you are seeing it with your mind, but you are calling it in with your emotions, with your heart. Okay, so imagine calling something in with a dirty water bottle full of a whole bunch of things that you've eaten at different periods of time. You're wanting something new, but look at the type of bottle we're trying to manifest purity. You can't manifest anything sturdy, right? So the only thing is milkwashing. You got to use God's word. You got to use truth, unadulterated truth, in order to clean your waters. There are 3 specific dates that I'm going to give you. So I want you to imagine that at some point you recognize that the universe is the only person that I can kick with. It's the only person or the only thing in existence that I can truly manifest with. So I must pattern myself after the creation itself if I want to create. And so this all comes down to emotions. This entire thing is about, I don't know how many ways I can say that. This is about emotion. Okay. Now, you don't necessarily know this. You know this now because we've already talked about it. But this reading is saying that there were seasons when you were trying to create or establish something, but you didn't know that it wasn't coming to fruition because of the state of your emotional body. Right? So you show up to the universe, you got your business plan, you're ready to do your business pitch, and the universe don't give a shit about anything in your mind. The universe don't care about anything you just said. One thing is measured: your emotional body. The universe is testing your waters. So the first time you meet with the universe, you are looking for success, right? And in order to meet with the universe, you have to already understand that you are in a union with the universe, right? Some people go to demons. Some people go to their mentors. Some people go to a lot of different places to create a lot of different shit in their life. But if you would just go to the source and the system itself, I promise you, the middleman, I bet you your waters will be a lot more clear. Okay. So anyway, you show up to the universe, and I really feel like whenever we are trying to create, whatever the drink is that you are carrying, it is already an indication to the universe where you are. And so nothing can be manifested or created until our waters are pure and clean. And so there are 3 specific meetings that you had with the universe, and each time it appears that you were turned away. And the universe is like, no, we're not ready yet. No, because you're still drinking a fucking Long Island iced tea. No, you came back and ordered a rum and Coke. Like, I'm looking for Clarified, right? And so whatever you order, whatever drink you are carrying inside of you, that is the one that the universe is looking for. And you better have you some gin or some tonic and some, like there are certain drinks that you gotta have. First time you meet with the universe, the message to you is your intuition is so strong that not only do you know who you are, but you know who they are too. The universe is like, listen, something is in your water, right? Part of what's in your water is yours, but part of what's in your water doesn't belong to you, and you know it. You know it, right? So this is about building your confidence. The universe is like, you're not confident enough, right? Yes, your waters are clear, but you got other shit floating in there. But do you recognize that you're supposed to take it out? Do you recognize that you're supposed to pay attention to the fact that some of the things you're carrying just really don't belong to you? Now, the new moon in Leo could be specific to when you got this message. Our new moon in Leo this year was July 24th. Remember, this is a dark moon or a black moon, so we can go back 29 to 33 months ago. So you can think about July 24th this year, last year, or even the year before that, right? Think about new moon in Leo in terms of confidence. The universe is like, listen, if you're still carrying around things inside of your water bottle that don't belong to you, and you actually know they don't belong to you, something inside of you is not really authentically expressing yourself because you haven't purified the shit that's not yours. You know, sometimes it just feels good to recognize all the ways in which we are good and all the ways in which others are bad. But if you're still entertaining bad situations, there's no difference between you and them, right? And so this is about really creating a separation. There may have been a situation, there may have been something that you were involved in. I have a card for the 3 of Hearts. This is talking about being cautious, being prudent, using tact, using discernment, like resisting the temptation to have the last word. There may have been a situation, either this new moon in Leo or a couple years back, where authentic self-expression was required, right? And you had to say or do something, and you had to literally believe that external validation is not needed and not necessary. When you can unapologetically clean out your water bottle, this means that the only thing you care about is embracing authentic self-expression, right? Like, just because you can see the stuff in the bottle that doesn't belong to you doesn't necessarily mean that you get an award or a promotion. The universe is like, yeah, but when are you going to take out? Like, when are you still got to filter it. Congratulations that you found it. Congratulations that you understand all of the things that don't allow you to express yourself authentically. But as long as you keep other shit in your water bottle, you actually care about external validation. And if you prioritize external validation, well, then your union with the universe is not honored. And so there was a situation that you moved through. This is an 8 of Swords type of situation, right? The very thing that your intuition is telling you is that something is confusing you. Something is disrupting you. Maybe it was quiet jealousy. Maybe it was some type of insecurity. Something you were involved in caused some type of trouble. The 8 of Swords gives us the feeling of being held prisoner, feeling trapped, feeling like we can't escape. What is it that was impacting your authentic self-expression that you felt like you couldn't escape from, but still something about the validation, external validation, something about it was worth hanging on to? Your universe is like, no, I don't like the drink you ordered. I don't like the drink you brought to the meeting. We really can't manifest. Okay. So that was the first exchange. Then, based on this reading, you have another meeting with the universe. Okay. The first meeting that you had, that was almost like the getting to know each other. You recognize that you are actually in union. Okay. But in order to be in union with the universe, to manifest and to create, you got to be your authentic self. And the way your water bottle looks inside of you is what reveals to the universe whether or not you are using truth, whether or not you are using God's word and God's ways in order to pull out the impurities. Next one. You have another meeting with the universe, right? Now, this time, the conversation is about successful partnerships. And this is beautiful because in the last meeting, it was almost like people mattered, but they mattered too much. This time, when you show up to the reading or to the meeting with the universe, we got the 3 of Clubs. This is about successful partnerships, sharing in somebody else's good fortune. This is about you knowing that when people are linked up to me, they benefit, they win, right? Whenever anybody is assigned to you, attached to you, dating to you, connected to you, there is some type of lucky strike that they will experience just because they are attached to you. This reading says you're the 10 of Pentacles. So by the time you meet the universe again, you understand that I am the 10 of Pentacles. I am the being, the energy. I am the essence of security. I bring securities to homes. I bring security to myself. Like, I remember one time going to work and I was a director of a child care center. It was like a new drop-in center. And the staff said, we feel so much better when you're here. Like when you're here, we feel better. They normally arrived and opened a little bit before me, but I remember them expressing that and I couldn't really understand it. But that's what this reading is reminding me of. At some point you recognize when people are attached to me, they win. And although this reading says 10 of coins, you don't have to have bags of money to make people feel safe and secure. The 10 of coins is about economic stability, but it's also about happiness that surrounds a home. It's really hard to make money with a broken heart. It's really hard to go out and to work if your home is scattered. And if the energies are not flowing, I want to say like congealed, right? Like you need a home to be a unit. It could be a whole bunch of different people, but there's got to be like a thread or a seam You are the seam that keeps all the different fibers of the fabric together. You recognize that about yourself when you met with the universe for the second time. But this time, the universe has a different message for you. They're like, okay, good. So you understand you're the 10 of Pentacles. You understand why your water can't be dirty because you're the 10 of Pentacles, right? And so you don't want to be in an 8 of Swords moment. You got to be confident about what you carry. And when you recognize something is in your water bottle that's really dirty, you got to pull that shit out quickly because it will depreciate your own value. Cool. You show up to the second meeting. The second meeting says it takes place during the full moon in Sagittarius. Y'all, these don't have to go in chronological order. The full moon in Sagittarius occurs. Sorry, y'all. It says 6/11, June 11th. So this is not long ago, but remember, because we're going back 29, 30. So either June this year, June last year, or June before. Something about what I'm about to say. So now the message to you is, okay, do not let your empathy for others drain you to the point that you no longer have the capacity to show up for yourself. So you understand that emotionally you are rich, you are pure. What you provide others makes them feel safe and comforted, okay? Anybody attached to you gets to experience a win. Maybe it is because you carry the gift of empathy. This reading could literally be talking about how you have mastered your empathy. It is a beautiful gift, but it must be groomed and learned and developed. And so now the universe is like, okay, let's talk about what true love really is. True love is not exhaustion. That's not, if you're not being poured back into and you're doing all the pouring, when you finally show up to ask the universe for something and the universe goes to read your waters, ain't no water in your water bottle because you didn't let everybody else drink from it. They recognized your wealth, but they may have recognized it before you recognized that you needed to cut them off. And so now the universe is like, okay, now that you understand the picture, now let's look at the bigger picture. That's what the full moon in Sagittarius is about. It's looking at the bigger picture. What are you doing that is outdated? What is challenging you? What thoughts and what patterns are allowing you to show up and trying to create for yourself, but you ain't got nothing left because you're giving it all away? Okay? And so now this conversation with the universe is about true love. And it says, listen, true love is a deep soul connection. Sometimes we're searching for it. And in the process of our search, we're giving everything we have away. And if you're giving it away, it's because you're not trusting that it's really out there. You're just letting it leak all over. And so when you really find it, you really won't have anything to experience or to pour into the thing that you've been looking for. Because everybody else recognized the wealth in you and they took it all, right? And so don't let your empathy stop you from really showing up for yourself. They're draining you, the richness of you, right? True love is going to flow to you naturally, only if you love yourself first. So now the message is, listen, I'm glad you knew what to take out of your water bottle that was impacting your authenticity and fucking up your purity. No more confusion. Now you understand what you are. But you gotta love your first, meaning there should be a spot that you mark on your water bottle, like you need to go get a Sharpie and you need to put a milestone marker, write it on the side of your water bottle. The water will not drop below this level, meaning in all relationships, this is where I won't go. These are non-negotiables. These are the parts of myself that I'm not willing to give out or give away. And if it's not a part or a piece of yourself that you want, meaning I don't want to feel these feelings. When my water is depleted, when I allow people to drink from me so much so that it drops beneath this line, oh my God, I know what that feels like to be drained. And so the universe is like, okay, it's okay to give yourself away, but you got to like cap it, right? Because remember, all of these meetings with the universe is really to manifest something, but you can only get from the universe what you're really bringing for yourself. And the universe is essentially revealing to you all the ways in which you don't know what you don't know about yourself emotionally. All right. So the final meeting with the universe. This one takes place the full moon of Scorpio. This is May 12th. Okay. This is the final meeting. This is the meeting that we've been waiting for. This is the meeting that will get us sturdy. So on this meeting, the universe says there's something in your water bottle, right? Now, I get the energy of the 2 of spades. This means brace yourself, arguments, problems, temporary separation, gossip, unkind thoughts, regretfulness. Something in your water bottle that is stopping you from being sturdy emotionally is old, meaning, you know, I kind of thought when I first got to this part of the reading, it's like being a soldier in battle and wearing armor, and you got a lot of blood and guts and stuff on the armor. And then when the war is over, like, you don't clean the armor, right? Now, you don't want to try to clean your armor of blood in the middle of the battle because you're still fighting. And so on the final meeting with the universe is like, okay, now everything that you just got out of your water bottle in order to return, right, all of the milk washing that we've been doing to get you back to a state of purity, I need you to know that you're actually at a state of purity, right? So recognize that your water is safe for you to drink. Like, now I just want you to sit with your own water. Before you want me, the universe, or the Most High to do something with it, I want you to sit with it. I want you to tell me why it's sturdy. And so this is the moment where you recognize I can release all negativity. When my water is safe enough for me to drink, I can release my negativity. Something about that may have happened. Full moon of Scorpio. We had a full moon in Scorpio on May 12th. This is about working through our shadow in order to release buried fears. So even if your water is clean, you might be scared that it'll get dirty again. The universe is like, release that. We can't build with you being afraid of that. That's not going to help us be sturdy. AKA, we're cooking a new meal with old ingredients. Get rid of that. We don't need that. Emotional baggage, hidden truth, all of that, right? Everything that we just cleaned your heart and your emotional body from, now forget that it ever happened. That's essentially what this message is. On the final message, the final part of you that was like getting yourself emotionally ready in order to be this manifester, in order to be this creator of self-improvement, like that final part of you had to almost forget what you went through even happened. Not mentally, but emotionally. My handmade card talks about our third eye. This is about our wisdom. Every one of our chakras can impact us emotionally, physically, mentally, or spiritually. In order for you to no longer be afraid of your waters getting dirty, your wisdom had to tell you that. Your third eye had to reveal that to you. One of the ways that being afraid of yourself impacts your wisdom is sometimes you may have an overactive imagination because we're so scared of what can go wrong. We've thought up every possibility, or we're too afraid to think at all. I'm not even going to think the thought because it might get dirty if I think it, right? Like just those fears, the emotional baggage, like just the residue even corrupts our mind of believing that, damn, I'm really this pure. Like I really did it. Like the universe is like, you got to stand on it. You got to be sturdy. You have to be able to think about building a foundation. But when you go to jump on it, it falls through. I even thought about the 3 little pigs. The more sturdy you are, you become the 3rd little pig with the brick house. And so you get a clean water bottle, you do your purification, but then you throw up some shit real quick and the wolf comes and is gone. And so the universe is almost like, honor what you've been through. Don't be in a rush. Don't think too little. Don't refuse to think at all. Don't be resistant to reflecting. Like, don't be scared of yourself, right? And so this is about feelings of inadequacy. Emotionally, I am pure. but am I worth it? Like, is this really me? Is this right? So now it's just you getting comfortable operating in this way. Finally, it talks about an incongruence between the mental and the emotional self, meaning when you talk to yourself about self, your self narrative, your mind and your waters aren't telling the same story. Yes, you're emotionally pure. You've done all the work, but your mind is still carrying residue. And so this is about getting all of you to speak the same language. You got to get your entire body to buy into the fact that it is really time to release negativity. When we're talking about us being a magician, we have every single element we need. We have our mind, our spirit, we have our emotion, we have our breath, right? We got it all. But sometimes, and we have earth, we got finances. You know, like literally on this day, right now, look at all of our lives. Some of us, our finances could be tied up in medical bills. Some of us, our mind could be worried about what's coming up on Thursday. For some, our emotions can be somewhere with our child or somewhere with a loved one that passed away, right? And so think about where all of your elements are right now in this moment. Is all of you speaking the same narrative, or are parts of you scattered? Right? And so the incongruence inside of you, you got to convince every single part of you that you are really sturdy. This is it. This is the moment. Some pieces of you are going to be holding on to negativity from things which you've gone through. You got to be a unit. You have to be a house that cannot be divided. You have to stand together in mind, spirit, body, and soul. That was the meeting. That was the final lesson with the universe. And the only way to hack that is using your third eye and your wisdom. Wisdom tells you this, right? So y'all, this is pretty much the meeting. This is the meeting. You had 3 meetings, right? And it was really about the universe wants to know what you're sipping on. What are you sipping on when you come to me asking me to drink what's in your heart so that I can give you what you're really asking for? My handmade card says, try to get what you love. Otherwise, you'll have to love what you got. At some point, you were tired of forcing yourself to love what you got. And so this is what happens with the milkwashing. You start cleaning out your emotional body. I have the 2 of diamonds. The 2 of diamonds talks about preparing for difficulties, recognizing that sometimes there will be relationships where people naturally they disapprove of you or they find fault with you. As soon as you put yourself back together and you decide everything I get next in my life, I am going to love it. I don't have to try to love it. I don't have to settle, like I'm going to get it. The moment all of you is speaking the same language and you got one band, one sound. What movie was that? Drumline? One band, one sound. That's what you need to sound like. One band, one sound. When you start sounding like that, there are going to be situations where people will find they don't like it. They don't like it. I used to be able to play with your money. I used to be able to play with your mind. I used to be able to play with your spirit. I used to be able to play with your heart. But now I can't play with none of you because you're one band, you're too sturdy. And so when you celebrate your level of sturdiness because you have released negativity from every aspect of your being, some people are going to find an issue with that. And so prepare for people wanting to throw some shit in your water bottle, but you got a cap on it. You've got a boundary because you're not settling. You're not just going to love what you got. You're going to be intentional about what you got and how you got it. This is all about your emotions. Your first language. That is the language that you cannot lose. Your first language is the language that the universe communicates to you with. But it is also the language that sets up the rest of your life. Your emotional body. Your emotions guide you through life's challenges. They connect you to God, to the Most High. And when we suppress them, when we tell them to be quiet, or we drop a whole bunch of shit in them that really isn't us, we're not authentically us, we got a whole bunch of people with a whole bunch of residue and fucking opinions, it messes up your natural flow. So at some point you get tired of being tired and then you fixed your flow. Something about this black moon or this dark moon, is going to reveal to you that your emotions are truly your greatest strength. So you have arrived. You have arrived. We have the energy finally of the disseminating moon. Right? So the war is over. You can clean off all that old stuff. You can convince your body, heart, mind, soul, and spirit that, listen, we're really sturdy. This is real now. We're here now. Don't you worry. Like, we're here now. This is the moment where you can take time to breathe out, because you know everything that comes next is going to be a reflection of what you love. You may have started this journey 29 to 33 months ago. And we're only here again to celebrate that literally everything you did, it was cleaning out the pantry. You just got rid of all the old shit. And yes, it will take years to do this. It took years to get it in there. It's going to take years to get it out. Right? Sometimes Virgos are hard on self and hard on others. But anyway, this is your chance. This is your time to release, to let go, to process, to just let it out. Gratitude, appreciation, giving back, sharing. This is the season of that, right? This is that season. And so whatever happens next, this has been a long time coming. And none of what I described in this reading, none of it has to be perceived. All of this is internal. All of this is internal. Well, we did talk about the fact that, like, when you are clarified, your appearance looks better. So think about what you looked like 2 years ago to what you look like now. Think about what you want to look like, So just think about how emotionally the way you carry your own waters has impacted. Do you stand upright, or your shoulders? You know what I mean? Like, just think about your posture inside and outside. All right, y'all. I love you so much. Patreon. You'll have another reading for the black moon or the dark moon. Tier 1 Patreon. That's $3 and I think it's 33 cents. So all paid members get this reading on Patreon. But in order to get the reading, if you wanted to join, it would be at Tier 1, $3.33. Okay, y'all, I love you. And also Tier 2 and Tier 3 of Patreon, you each have 2 videos coming out today. All right, y'all, I love you. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful black or dark moon, and happy new moon in Virgo. Take care.